Hello everyone, welcome back to my Code to Care video series. Today I'm going to explain what MCP is. In short, MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, and it's the way that large language models can interact with tools, which is a very important part of the new Agentic AI workflow, is for large language models and tools to work together. And so this is a standard that's been proposed out there that a lot of people are adopting. So it's not really rocket science, but I'll kind of walk you through what it's all about and why it's important. So if you recall the agentic workflow, you have an application, and in your application you may want to allow your users to ask for something big. They want something big done, which needs an agentic AI workflow. You might be using a framework. I'll just put it there, you don't have to. But let's say the user has a request like, hey, can you admit this patient? And it's a multi-step workflow, and there's a lot of things that needs to be done. What happens is a prompt is sent to a large language model, and then a list of tools is sent along with it. Okay, so here's the user request, here are some instructions, and here's the list of tools that you can call, basically, to get this job done. So the large language model, instead of giving an answer response, it's actually going to respond saying, okay, call this tool. And it'll make a tool request. And then your application in the framework will have access to all these tools down here. And it's basically going to get the request from the large language model. It's going to call one of these tools. It's going to get an answer back from the tool. It's going to send the large language model the answer back. And this loop will keep running until the user task is done, which is the large language model will say, I'm done with the task. So this down here are the tools. And these tools might be just APIs, like schedule an appointment. They might be databases that you need to read and write to. They might be internet resources, like websites you might get some information from, or internal, document sources, a PDF source or whatever. So these are basically resources, other tools, APIs, that sort of thing that the large language model and your application can draw upon to get the task done. Now, before MCP was invented, and this is all in the last couple years, as you would imagine, before MCP was invented, each of these tools, like any APIs, had different ways to call them, different parameters, different arguments, different protocols, all that sort of thing, which made the task of building an agentic system complicated. So MCP basically standardizes the way the framework itself or your application and the large language model refer to tools. So there are two parts to this. There's an MCP server, or multiple MCP servers. So picture an MCP server having one or more tools as part of it. So an agentic workflow can use multiple MCP servers, and typically would. But each server has a number of tools. And that server basically implements two methods. One method is called list tools, and the other method is called call tool, basically. So the LLM can say, what tools do you have available? And then it can say later, call this tool with these arguments. And that's basically it. And then up here is an MCP client, which knows how to talk to the MCP server. So I guess in our industry, you might think of this a little bit like a fire server. A fire server is just a REST server, but there's a particular way that you can ask for patient information, that you can update patient information. The responses back have a certain format that you know how to digest, and so it's a standardized way that healthcare information can be talked about. And MCP is similar. It's a standardized way where tools are referred to and you can get results. So the second question is, why is this such a big deal? It seems pretty straightforward, and what's all the fuss around some programs calling in other programs in a standardized way? So let me erase this, and then I'll give you why it's important. Hey there, I'm just popping in to say that I'd love to hear your comments and feedback on this video. I read all the comments, so let me know what you think. Let me know what suggestions you have for my next video by putting in some comments below the line here. Thanks. Okay, so this seems pretty straightforward. You might say, what's the big deal? Why is everybody talking about MCP servers? And there are a couple interesting things to highlight. So one is eventually you're going to have lots of tools. So for your very first project, it's not going to make that much sense. You're building your first agentic loop. You're writing 3 tools, wiring it up. And it's going to actually complicate your life. It's going to seem like more work to put it into MCP servers. But play this out a few years. You might have 25, 75, 100 different tools. And when you need to build a new agentic workflow or allow your application to do something else with agentic AI, you'll be able to draw upon all these tools that you have because they'll all be written in the same way. They'll all talk the same way. And so you're going to have a big bank of tools that allow you to build more and more agentic workflows very easily if you do it in this consistent and standard way. Second thing is you can write it in any technology. So this is kind of an arm's length relationship between your application and the tool. So the tool may be a Node app or an Iris app or a Java app or something like that, and the client might be something else entirely. And so this kind of handshake allows you to write tools that last over time, even as your technology evolves. The third is it's a standard. So it's just going to simplify change. So if you wanted to use a new framework or write your application in a different way, you don't have to rewrite all your tools. And so it really streamlines the way the LLMs, you might pick a different LLM model over time, but the way the LLMs and the tools work together, when you have kind of this standard handshake, it really simplifies things and allows you to change more easily. Second is vendors will supply MCP servers. So if you use Salesforce as a CRM or Jira as an issue tracking system or what have you, these are shipping with MCP servers. So they're APIs that allow you to open a new Jira or close a Jira or change a status or change something with your CRM system or finance systems. You know, your vendor supplied system that you use will start to be shipped with MCP servers. So it'll allow you to take those systems and plug them into your agentic workflows. Okay, so because it's a standard, because it can be written in any technology, because you don't really have to know what's in the black box in order to take advantage of it, then vendors will just kind of ship their software along with MCP servers. And that's going to make your life easier and your agents more powerful. And then lastly, it can be any internet resource. So the tools don't have to be something running in your organization. So, you know, there's an MCP server out there for weather. So you send it a zip code, you get the weather back. So it's kind of standardizing the internet's APIs, which basically means now the internet is at your disposal as a resource to use. So weather is an easy example, but a very good one that we use here is called Context 7, for instance. Context 7 is an MCP server that has LLM-friendly documentation about all kinds of technologies. So if you wanted to write an agentic workflow around coding, you could point it at the Context 7 server, and it could basically ask that server questions about various technologies and get answers to them and get nice, friendly documentation. And that's not a server you need to install locally. That's just an internet resource out there. So essentially, this whole MCP environment allows you to bring very powerful, capable tools to these agentic workflows in a streamlined, standardized way that can work across technologies, that can work across vendors, and can work across the whole internet. So it's a really good building block for us to build these agentic systems, and I thought you should know what it was all about. So I hope that was interesting, and until next time, bye. Hey there, I hope you liked this video. I've added a next video at the end of this, so take a look at that if you enjoyed this. And if something resonated with you, please drop a comment down below here. I read every comment
myself, and I really appreciate hearing from you. Thanks.